Hello, friends. I hope you can see me and hear me. Welcome to our Sunday sit. Sorry I'm a minute late. Okay, so somebody shoot me a text quick and say, yes, we can see you, and yes, you're live. Oh, you don't see me. Okay, you see me. All right, okay. So, welcome, guys, ladies, folks. So, we're going to run for about an hour here, and I sent you the schedule, but I'll run through it again quickly. I'm going to give just basic zazen instruction, and then we're going to sit for 25 minutes, and then we'll do a Q&A, preferably about the sit we just did or any questions you have about Zen meditation sitting. Okay, so the style of meditation we're going to do is called zazen. I don't know. There's a few people here, so I don't know what everybody's experience level is with meditation or how much zazen you've done. But the kind of sitting we're going to do is Rinzai Zen Buddhist meditation, and it's really, really basic meditation. So it's almost better to talk about what zazen is not than what it is. And believe me, I was at a monastery for 13 years, and you have a lot of time on the cushion to get it wrong. Like a lot of time to sit there and think about your koan and try and build up ideas about what you're supposed to be doing on the cushion, what the meaning of life is, what happens after death, how your mom screwed you up, what you're going to do after you get out of the monastery to live the perfect life. Like the mind, one of my big insights on the cushion was that basically I'm always thinking, almost always thinking. And a lot of the times, even when I was doing what I thought was deep zazen meditation, there was a little mental hamster running on his wheel in the background. Okay. And over the years, more senior monks and teachers and roshis would give me the same advice over and over and over. And it honestly, it never really, really clicked until I left the monastery. I don't think. I mean, sometimes these things click on different levels. Um, but basically, when you sit zazen, we're going to run through the posture a little bit. We're going to run through the form. See how we're doing on time here. Oh, only 4 minutes. We're going to run through the posture. We're going to run through the form. But I want to get this point across before we even start, because this is where I've gone wrong so many times in my life. And I think it's important when we do just one sit like this to get it right, because my secret theory is that you don't need like a little bit of Zen practice goes a really long way. Like it's really strong stuff. A little bit of zazen done right goes a long way. We did a lot of zazen at the monastery, and that's why you have an opportunity to distract yourself with all kinds of thinking. But I'm assuming everybody on this sit right now is a layperson, has a busy life. If you're sitting down and you're doing a home practice, maybe 20 minutes sit in the morning, 20 minutes in the evening. That's what I'm trying to do now. Your time is limited and your time is precious. You're not a monk. You don't have like all day to sit around on the cushion. So the most important thing is completely breathing out all your thoughts, all your emotions, all your insides, exhaling completely, and not exaggeratedly or loudly or fetishistically about the breath, but you're using your whole body to exhale completely. And it's all the practice is. Really, that is it. Because even the inhale comes naturally. Okay? So if you exhale completely, all the thinking, all the emotional energy, all the mentation, all the doubt goes out. And then you inhale the fresh air completely and naturally. And then, of course, the thinking mind is going to pop up again. Oftentimes, it happens when that interchange happens between the exhale and the inhale. And then the practice that I learned is you give yourself away again, back to the breath, right? So my mistake that I always made, and I still make, is that my head is supposed to be doing something, or that I'm supposed to somehow be manifesting Buddhist principles, manifesting no self, working on my koan, mindfully noting thoughts that come up. And you can waste a ton of time doing that. But the practice is really, really, really simple and really basic. And it's important to remember that, or you can waste a lot of time and you don't need to. When you get a good, solid breathing practice, zazen practice going, you can take it out into the world with you. And like it's useful, but it's really simple and really basic. If you want to do contemplation of the sutras or of your koan, that's another thing. You can do that when you're sitting on your cushion, but the foundation should always be this really deep shikantaza, like they call it in the Soto tradition, this really deep Tai Toku, as they call it in the Rinzai tradition, which is with your whole body, apprehending the practice with your whole body, right? The way I've been thinking about it recently is it's a bit like, now hear me out. It's a bit like you're running for your life, right? Like someone's behind you in the alley and you just start running, right? But without the adrenaline and without the fear. But it's total awareness and total focus, right? You're not thinking. You're not wondering who it is behind you. You're not, you know, when you saw the flash of the gun, you didn't think, I wonder what caliber it is, right? You're totally aware and totally focused. So that's the kind of energy and dedication and focus and concentration you want to bring to your sitting. It's like you're a furnace and you're burning up those thoughts and you're burning up those emotions and you're burning up that doubt in your posture. And that burning produces a kind of heat and a kind of energy. And there's an awakeness in that energy, right? So you lose yourself in the activity of the exhale and the activity of the inhale. You're giving yourself away. So that's the practice in a nutshell. I spent 13 years at the monastery and I tried everything there is to try. I mean, and everybody does when they go to the monastery. A year and a half in, everybody's reading Carlos Castaneda. They're reading the Tibetan Book of the Dead. They're trying mindfulness. They're on their knees praying in their cabin. Everybody tries everything. But in the end, we ultimately, most of us come back to this really simple practice of giving, right? So I hope that makes some sense. What I want to do now is just talk about the posture. It's going to be a little bit tricky here because you can't see my legs. So if you're sitting on a chair, that's great. If you're sitting on a chair, just sit at the edge of the chair with your feet flat on the ground and your spine straight. Don't lean back against the chair, but sit up straight. Hopefully you've got a pillow or something underneath you. For the rest of us, I'm going to show you here. There's a few ways you can cross your legs. Hopefully you've got your pillow. I don't have a zafu cushion now. I just take a pillow and I fold it in half and sit on it. Okay. You want your butt elevated so that you can pivot your hips and rest your knees on the floor. So ideally, your knees are touching the floor or the mattress whatever you're sitting on. So that gives you a solid base. Your two knees are like the angles on a triangle. Your head is the point of the triangle. Your coccyx, lower back, is like the axis of the triangle, right? So you're sitting like a mountain. Your hips are tilted, pivoted. That gives a natural curve in your spine, and that allows your knees to touch the ground. Now you're solid, right? Because if we're going to do that complete giving to the breath, we need a solid foundation. There's this teacher, Harada Roshi, a Rinzai Zen teacher. He's got this great comment I heard him made once. He said, what your body does, your mind follows. Like, don't think you can get your mind right in Zazen without your body being right. He said, if I'm to walk out of this room right now, my mind will completely adjust to the new surroundings. So the body leads. So we have to get our body in alignment before we can sit. So as I said, you're sitting on your cushion. Hopefully you're elevated enough to where if you pivot your hips, tilt your hips forward, then your knees are touching the floor. If they're not touching the floor, you can fold a towel or a blanket or something and put it underneath your knee so that your knee is resting on that. The problem is if it's not touching something, it's going to be suspended. And what it's suspended by are the sciatica nerves, and they're going to get stretched and they're going to start hurting. Okay. So imagine your spinal cord is a hollow bamboo pole coming out the top of your head here, and you took a pebble and you let it go. Pebble would drop all the way down without hitting the sides of that hollow bamboo pole. So you want your spine to be straight but not rigid, right? Sitting up straight. Relax your shoulders, relax your diaphragm, relax your chest, relax your face. I always say my face is so tense when I sit down and sit. And it's like I'm wearing my mask in from whatever my day was, whatever face I was presenting to people. Drop the face. You're going to be carrying tension in your jawline, in your neck, in your shoulders. Let everything drop. Everybody just take a deep inhale now through the diaphragm, down in the belly, abdominal breathing. Deep inhale, deep exhale. My mentor used to say, on that exhale, try and have that final third of the exhale be very deliberate. He said, we tend to kind of like let it peter out, but when we're doing the deliberate Zazen breathing, we want to be a little bit more focused about it, a little more sincere about it. So in that final third of the exhale, completely push down and let it all out. And the inhale comes naturally. So when you're doing your home practice, to kind of honor the switch of perspectives from your life to your practice, you can do a few really deep, deliberately deep exhales and inhales to get into your practice. Okay, so we're sitting up straight, our knees are touching. So in Zen practice, the kind of Zen that I do, our eyes are open and they're about 3 feet ahead of us. So it's a soft gaze about 3-4 feet ahead of us. So we keep our eyes open. The idea is that in Zen practice, you have to learn to include the world in your practice. And your ears and your eyes are the two main sensory conduits for the world. So we practice with the world when we sit Zazen. Other Theravadan traditions, a friend of mine does mindfulness practice. He closes his eyes. I do that sometimes when I'm doing Zen practice, but it's not what I was taught to do. You include the world. I remember I saw this guru once in Los Angeles, and this guy got up and he said, I'm trying to do my practice at my house, but I'm like on Sunset Avenue, and there's just tons and tons and tons of traffic noise, and there's gunshots, and there's murders, and there's Hollywood parades, and I don't know what to do with all this activity. And all the guru said was, allow and include. So that's the basic spirit of Zazen. That's why we keep our eyes open, but it's a soft gaze. You're using your periphery. Because one thing you'll notice if you haven't sat a lot before is that when you first start sitting and your eyes are open, you can focus on something and then like start looking at it really closely and get a little bit lost in that. That's fine, but try and activate your peripheral vision. Um, so you can cross your legs just Burmese style, which is just a regular crossed leg position. You can do half lotus, which is the ankle of one of the legs on the thigh of the other leg, or you can do full lotus, which is the ankle of both legs on the opposing thighs. Whatever works for you. Sit in a chair, as I said, that's great. You don't want to become a victim of Zen practice. So if you can't do full lotus, half lotus, don't fret it. The sitting position, full lotus, is the most solid position. You really feel like your energy is can build in that position. Half lotus is good as well, or just cross-legged. I can't remember the last time actually I did full lotus, so I'll do it right now. But normally I just cross my legs if I've got a 20-minute sit in the morning or the evening. Okay, so we've taken our position. Now what? As I said before in my initial ramble, okay, we're running a little bit long here, but I don't want to gloss over any of this. As I said at the beginning of my initial ramble, the practice is to dissolve the thinking mind into the breathing, give completely to the breath. And truth be told, it could be anything you're giving yourself to. What are the Maharishi people do? They give themselves to their mantra, right? They like they say their mantra, right? When you're Catholic, you pray the Hail Mary and the Our Father, right? But we give ourselves completely to the breath, like that's our practice, and there's a reason for it, and the reason becomes obvious when you practice. But when your mind wanders and you're wondering what you're supposed to be doing, and all these thoughts and emotions start coming up, and they're so tricky, and they're so brilliant, and they're so powerful, and they're so strong. And I'm telling you, like, as I said before, like 13 years in a monastery, like you can waste years and years of your life doing something other than zazen on the cushion. And it's not a good idea. So the practice is when the thinking mind arises, you have to become aware of it sooner or later. Oh, I'm thinking. That's great. That's your natural wisdom, your natural awakeness manifesting. Then the practice is to give yourself back to the breath and to dissolve your thinking into the posture, into sitting. It's not really just the breath, it's the posture. It's sitting, right? You can feel it in your whole body. Like I said, there's a Japanese word called taitoku, which means to apprehend with the whole body. So just for like 20, 25 minutes when you do your sit, it's no thinking time. You have plenty of time to think later on, but when you sit, it's different. It's totally different, right? And of course, your mind is wonderful. It's brilliant, and it's going to keep coming up with thoughts. And then you focus again. Of course, the translation of the word Zen means single pointed concentration. You focus, or as I was taught, the word is you give. That's how you focus. You give completely, right? And then that thinking mind dissolves. And then it's like reborn again, right? You feel better. You feel better. And as you exhale and inhale, it's like You learn to come into relationship with your surroundings. And as that thinking mind dissolves, you're connected with your surroundings. And there's no wall of self, wall of thinking, wall of emotion, wall of separation. Now you're plugged in. Now you're doing zazen or samadhi, whatever you want to call it, right? And of course, it's going to founder, or it's going to go great, and then you're going to want it to come back. All of that is just a waste of time, complete waste of time. The practice is you humbly, sincerely, and completely giving yourself back to just sitting. Okay. Went a little bit longer than I thought. Just we're going to do our sit now. We're going to sit for 25 minutes. In an ideal world, you can sit without moving or shifting. So when we commit to the sit, um, we commit to it as best we can. So, like I said before, don't be a victim of Zen practice. Nobody's there to police you. There's nobody with a keisaku to hit you on the back. Hands, somebody said. Okay, we'll do hands. Um, Thank you. So there's a few mudras you can do. I'm just going to show you the Zen Mudra that we do and what I learned in the Shambhala Tibetan tradition, which is useful for a home practice. So in the Shambhala tradition, all we would do is take our hands and put them on our thighs. That is an easy, simple practice. Perfect if you want to do that. It's uncomplicated. In Zen, we do a mudra. So it's like this. We have our right hand on the bottom and we have our left hand on top with the knuckles touching. You can see the knuckles are lined up here and the thumbs lightly touching. And then we put this at our diaphragm, our belly. So our palms are kind of firm against the belly. Make sure that you drop your shoulders down, right? You got to relax your shoulders because this could be, people put tension in their shoulders when they first do this mudra. Thumbs lightly touching, okay? Very simple mudra. If it was raining, the rain would be gathering in your palms and on your fingers. So your fingers are kind of this part of the fingers, they're pointing up. You're resting it like this. This is a basic Zen mudra. The other mudra you can do left hand and your right hand. Take your thumb in your right hand and then just put this at your diaphragm. I like that one too. So you have three options. Nobody's watching. You can do whatever funky ass mudra you want. Any other questions before we get started? We ran through a lot there. Tongue lightly touching the roof of your mouth, lips closed, breathing through the nostrils, inhaling through the nostrils, exhaling through the nostrils. That's pretty important. A lot of the times I forget the really, really important stuff because it's just natural by now. Okay, nobody's asked any more questions. I'm going to set my timer and we'll sit for 25 minutes. As I said, sit as still as you can without moving. If you need to change the switch across of your legs, change the cross of your legs, I'm going to do it now. But try and commit to just this 25 minutes of pure sitting, breathing without moving or thinking. Good luck. Here we go. Okay. Hmm. You can stretch your legs out, light your cigarettes, take a swig from your morning whiskey bottle. We have 10 more minutes. Does anybody have any questions or comments about the sit? I always feel like when I sit down, um, when I sit down to sit, it's like when you get on an airplane, like I sit down in one place and then I get up from the sit and it's like getting off the airplane into a totally new city. Like, wow. I began to sit like Mike Tyson before a fight. I had all this energy. And at the end of it, I felt like an old man on a rocking chair, like, I need a nap. Tony Stewart asks, will this furnace save on my heating bill? No, but it'll save on your thermal underwear bill. Um, oh, Steve asks, is it normal to get very hot while sitting? Yeah. If you're doing, I'm sweating right now. I'm sweating, and I never sweat. I'm always cold. So, yeah, it can be if you're really. It is like a furnace. I find sometimes, like that's why in the Zen monasteries at the mountaintop, we would keep it pretty cold. It was never any warmer in the winters than 50 degrees Fahrenheit because um, you can get hot when you're sitting. Uh, Practicing without local sangha for 8 years. Yeah, I'm more or less practicing without a sangha now too. I find but I'm sitting in the mornings and I'm sitting in the evenings now more consistently. Um, and I thought it would be a good idea to sit with people like just once a week like this to really kind of like focus my practice for the week because you can really start to drift if you're just sitting by yourself. It's like, maybe I'll lie down this morning in bed for 10 minutes, and kind of be like zazen, or I'll listen to my podcast while lying down at night, but I'll focus on my breathing. And no, you're zazen. That's what I'm telling myself. Um, any particular focus on hara? We'll have to save that for another time. Hara is a big topic, but that's a good question. But it's a big topic. Yeah, and maybe if we do this again, we can talk about the hara, which is really just a space in the abdomen, an inch and a half below your belly button and an inch and a half back, but your whole body has to be sitting correctly, and then the focus comes down into that area in the hara. But we'll talk about that at a different time. Do you face a wall? Uh, that's what the Soto practitioners do. They face a wall. I actually wouldn't mind doing it. Maybe next time we can try facing the wall. I've never done that. In Rinzai, we always face the room. So Rinzai Zen is a Zen I practice. We always face the room. I could in Soto they always face the wall. I've never faced the wall ever in my life. There it is behind me. I'm going to try it next time. I think somebody remind me if we do this again to face the wall in Rinzai. I was told that the reason you face the room in Rinzai is because it's samurai Zen and they needed to know where the door was in case their enemies came in the room. I don't know if that's true or not. It sounds like the kind of things Rinzai practitioners say to pump themselves up, but interesting. Helena says, Helena, I often struggle with focusing on the breath. It often feels like a distraction to me. That's interesting. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's what's helpful for me is just like to to you've done practice with Brad Helena, and he talks a lot about shikantaza and just sitting, and I was focused. I maybe brought forward too emphasized too closely the breath because it's really the whole posture that you're doing. Um, but the practice that I was taught is not necessarily focusing on the breath. Initially, you have to focus on the breath, but it's more giving with your whole body to the posture and especially the breathing, which is this activity that you're doing, and just dissolving the thinking mind into that activity. And then this wall starts to fall down between you and the outside world, but you're not even thinking about that. When you do the activity, like the mind drops away, and sitting and breathing is the simplest activity that we can do. It's almost doing nothing, but you can't do nothing. So this kind of Zen I was taught was always, you're always doing an activity. So that you're never stopping and thinking. Every form of practice is an activity that you're giving yourself to. So when you're in the kitchen and you're chopping carrots, you're doing tenzo or kitchen zazen. When you're shoveling snow, you're doing shoveling snow zazen, right? Because you're always doing something. But when we sit and breathe, we're just doing the simplest activity we can with as much focused sincerity and attention as we can. And then the aim is to not think, to forget yourself, to throw the self away. My teacher would say, throw yourself into your sitting, throw yourself into your kitchen practice or your whatever it is you're doing, washing your dishes practice, going to the bathroom practice. I mean, I found this to be helpful. Like during this week, I had to deal with a really bad bureaucrat, and like I felt my body tightening as she started to bark at me. And then it was like, oh yeah, Zazen practice. Somebody just texted me and said, time's up. Well, I'm still going. I remembered Zazen practice, and I was able to process her words coming in, and breathe out, and kind of like this filtering system. Okay, she's coming in anger, filter it, go out. Like like the breath comes in and comes out, and I wasn't stuck in my head about it. So, anyways, okay, maybe one more question here. Where do my thoughts come from? Well, Doug, I don't know. I'll let you know later. Uh, will this be available as a recording after? I think so. I'm going to try and figure out how to do that. Yeah, to try and just put it up on the YouTube page. Okay, time's up, friends. This was really great for me. I hope it was great for you. Maybe we'll do it again. I'll get some feedback on my Patreon page. These are all Patreon people, so thank you guys so much for doing this. Oh, I noticed we had 15 when we started the sit. Now it's when we ended the sit. Now it's 19. And then we had 17 when we started the sit. That means a few people ducked out of the sit and then came back. Okay. Okay, I think this maybe is going to shut off in a couple minutes. So thank you guys very much. Gasho, blessings. Thank you for sitting together. Ciao.